yun namang sa AstraZeneca, anong nangyari? Bakit or you just worried about the World Health Organization report? Yun lang o may dagdag pang reason in the Philippines, unique to the Philippines?
Of course, so ganito, no? So actually ngayon, those who receive the AstraZeneca vaccine based on the National Adverse Event Following Immunization Committee, wala pang nakikitang event na nakikita doon sa Europe, no? Yung mga nagba-blood clots, no? The decision of the FDA to temporarily suspend the administration of Astra vaccine is we want also our local experts to review the data and at the same time to also look at how WHO look at this, despite the fact that even EMA look at this as there is a possible link, but they still continue to give the vaccine in most of these countries.
Okay, Doc, there are some people who already got AstraZeneca shots, their first dose. First question, what does this mean for their second dose? And second question, basically, what's your message to a friend who says na, Parigo, meron na akong first shot, paano ba to?
Okay, so doon sa data na blood clots, the occurrence of these blood clots is usually during after the second dose, after the first dose. So I would say, in my understanding, those who are given the first dose and nothing happened to them will be receiving the second dose.
Mm-hmm. So yung mga nagkaka-thrombosis or yung mga cases na ganun, after the first dose, within 2 weeks, I understand. No? Parang
yes,
ganun
yun.
Lumalabas na data.
Tama.
So,
and then,
so
ano,
kung
sa mga
hindi
bata,
nag-manifest, yes, sa mga below 60, right? Pero kung hindi nag-manifest, are we saying it's safe to go on with a second dose?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Kasi ang tinitingnan natin dito yung the benefit over that risk, no? Like currently, as based on the estimate of the EMA, this is an occurrence of like 1 to 5 in millions, over millions of those given the vaccine. So napakababa talaga ng odds of getting this, no? And benefit is what we are looking at na ang ganda nitong bakuna in terms of efficacy, in terms of protection, and this is how small the benefit, the risk is. Then that's the decision that most countries still continue to give the vaccine, even in those less than 60 years old.
Sir, we're asking, of course, not to scare the people who already have AstraZeneca shots or have schedules for it, but we also don't want them engaging in any risky behavior, diba? Because I can imagine some people now thinking, does it make sense to forego my second shot and go for another first shot? What are the risky behaviors that you also want to clarify and stress to people so that one, they don't panic, and two, they understand what are things to avoid, even if they're concerned.
Okay, so in terms of those who have been vaccinated, this will still continue to be observed, no? Kasi ganun naman ang protocol natin, no? Until such time you get the second dose, and then you'll get the second dose, you'll have to be. So you'll just have to monitor and report any adverse event that you feel na naramdaman nyo na hindi normal, no? Pangalawa, I would really assure them, no, na at this point in time, kung nabigyan kayo ng first dose and you are already like 1 month or 2 months detached from that first dose, I don't think there will be occurrence of that particular complications na nakikita doon sa ibang bansa, because the occurrence here is mostly during the first 2 or even the 3rd week of the vaccination. We now allow the use of Sinovac for those 60 years old and above, no? Which initially we did not recommend based on the initial EUA FDA approval, no? So this decision was carried out based on the premise that our vaccine supply, we don't have a vaccine for those 60 years old and above, which is supposed to be AstraZeneca. And given the situation now that there is ongoing community transmission, surge of cases, and we look at the number of 60 years old and above that are in the hospitals right now, who are with severe, moderate, or critical, these are the populations that are occupying, I would say, 80 to 90% of the hospitals in our NCR bubble plus, no? So we need to act now, and the one option there is to allow giving this vaccine to 60 years old and above, even with the lack of data based on a phase 3 clinical trial that this vaccine is effective for the 60 years old and above.
Sir, so effectivity po
sir,
yung...
if I could just clarify kung tama po yung narinig ko. I mean, first, dun sa advisory nung una na hindi muna tayo magsa-Sinovac para sa mga matatanda, what was the basis for that? Was it a concern for safety or was it a concern for efficacy? Because ang naririnig ko po kanina, correct me if I'm wrong, is basically hindi talaga sa amin nire-recommenda, kaya lang walang AstraZeneca eh. So payagan na muna natin. So what was yung concern na kailangan natin i-hurdle first? Was it safety or efficacy?
So it's not the safety, but it's more of the lack of the phase 3 trial data of efficacy. Dahil meron sila doon sa phase 3 data na may mga 60 years old and above na healthcare workers, pero there were only very few. So it is underpowered to make a conclusion if the vaccine is effective or not, no? So yun yung hinintay sana namin na data. But the phase 1 and phase 2, kasi pag nag-evaluate tayo ng bakuna, we always bridge these 3 clinical phases of development. The phase 1 and phase 2 data, in terms of immunogenicity for more than 60 years old, are very good. So ibig sabihin maganda ang antibody capacity ng 60 years old to produce an antibody against COVID-19. Ngayon lang, nung sa phase 3, hindi na natin na-test yun in an actual trial na na-expose sila doon sa mga COVID-19 patients because the number of participants sa 60 years old and above was too small.
So what made you decide nga now? Do you have enough data, for example, to make a decision na pwede nang ibigay sa seniors yan? That it's not just being given out of a need to vaccinate kasi wala ang AstraZeneca.
It's basically the phase 1 and phase 2 which established that it's safe, and it's also immunogenic, no? So safety and immunogenicity sa phase 1 and phase 2. At hindi lang doon sa phase 1 and phase 2, tinitingnan din natin kung paano nagro-roll out ng ibang bansa despite this lack of data sa 60 years old and above. Like number 1, no, yung sa Indonesia. Then you have Turkey. They have vaccinated millions and millions now of 60 years old and above. Then we have Chile, then Hong Kong, and then of course China is the biggest of these countries using Sinovac for 60 years old and above.
So you're saying, Doc, na yung kunyari Indonesia, they actually gave shots to seniors in Indonesia even before it could be established nga? Ganun ba yun? Kumbaga, sila yung naging phase 3 ninyo. Parang ganun.
Oo, kasi ang itong mga bansa na to, no, like Brazil, like Turkey, no, they already have millions of doses of Sinovac, even if during the time na hindi pa tapos yung trial, no, they have this advanced order of the Sinovac because they believe that with the phase 1 and phase 2, meron talagang laban ang pag nababakunahan ka dito.
Nagpa-inject nga
Doc, for clarity lang, Doc,
Saka
so for clarity lang, balikan ko lang yung tanong ni Ruby. So just for clarity, so hindi po question yung safety doon sa Sinovac. It was never a question. Just to be clear,
yes,
it was never a question.
Yes,
the question lang talaga that had been resolved in the last few weeks was the issue of efficacy.
Yes.